Hey, everybody, welcome back to the 133rd episode of Taps and Patience. I am AJ with Audacity Micro and Subtract Manufacturing, here with Harrison of Precision Ingenuity. Hi, Harrison. I was so close to saying the 113th episode of Taps and Patience, but I got it right in the end. True story.
Good deal. How we doing?
I'm doing okay. This week started off fairly hectic due to things that went wrong, but ended pretty well.
Yeah. We had a very busy last week, and I think I'm going to be swamped for all of October. Like looking at the forecast, I don't see a week where we aren't just buried with work for the month of October at least. And we've got enough work to keep us busy through the end of the year, but October specifically, we have a lot of deadlines due that are all pretty big. So
nice. But your shop got about 10,000 pounds heavier.
Yeah, it did. It did. And we have a new toy sitting on the shop floor that I get to stare at for a couple weeks that I really, really need to have running right now. But it's probably going to be close to the end of the month before we get it running. And we can go into details on that.
So when I order a Christmas present for my wife early or get a Christmas present for her like a couple, months before Christmas or whatever, I will put it in a brown box on the top shelf where she can just look at it and wonder what's inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I feel like your Doosan is right now.
Yeah. Except it's there with the doors open so I can look inside at all the goodness as I'm walking between the Doosan mill and the Haas lathe. It's smack dab in between those two, and the walkway is now right in front of it. So anytime I'm going back and forth between those two machines, I look over and I go, that could solve half my problems as I walk by.
So what's it waiting on?
Several things. It doesn't have all the accessories we ordered for it, the big one being the bar feeder, although that wouldn't necessarily stop us from using it. The big thing that we're waiting on is kind of a two-stage problem. Power transformer. So when we bought the machine, we bought it with Doosan supplying the transformer. And well, not Doosan, but our local distributor, TechMech. And the transformer that they had quoted is out of stock. Mm-hmm. And so they're coming up with some different solutions to try to get us a transformer sooner. But in addition to that, we need to get power increased to the shop for this machine anyways. So we're trying to upgrade from 200 amps to 400 amps. And I thought that we're getting a new panel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought our old panel was full. But turns out there might actually be one slot that I thought was used that might be open. And so if we can get the transformer in time, we could either power it up and start getting everything tooled up and get it ready to run when we get upgraded to 400 amps fully, or we can choose to not run a different machine to run that one.
Yeah.
And we could try running all of them and just see what happens too.
Yeah. I mean, that's what breakers are for.
So, but we still need to get the transformer before we can connect it up. So there's still some stuff that we're gonna have to wait on to get it all hooked up. But
is it 480?
No, it's 230. But our power is 240, but it can sometimes jump up to 250, and that's outside the spec range of the high end. I think it can't go above 242 volts, 244 volts, somewhere in that range on the Doosan. And we figured this out the hard way when they put in the SVM. We measured it with our voltmeter, and we read like 240, 242, somewhere in that ballpark range. And when they came out to plug up the machine to power and they went to turn it on for the first time, they checked the voltage and it read 248. And so they said, we can't turn this machine on because it'll start frying stuff. And so we had to overnight a transformer from a different company so we could get that machine running.
You should have just like grabbed a couple extension cords and plugged it in from a distance so that you had voltage drop across the cables.
Yeah.
Just like add a big resistor, basically.
Yeah. And so we made sure that we ordered this one with a transformer this time, but it's still biting us in the butt because we don't have it yet. So we got that we're waiting on. But it's really cool to see it in the shop and on the floor. It's definitely going to make things tight, but manageable. So I'm excited to get it up and running.
Can you at some point like stand in the middle of your shop and do an Instagram story where you just slowly do a 360 now? So I understand what it's done to the shop.
Yes. Ironically, that is something else that's kind of happened is we've updated our website. So if you actually go to our website homepage, there is a shot of a 360 on our homepage now.
Awesome.
And it just doesn't have that machine. It was done before that machine got there, but there is a 360 there. Ironically,
you did it just a little bit too early.
Yeah. So when we got that shot of the 360, it was a while. It was before the machine showed up. So.
Oh yeah, you're even like working in the shot.
Yeah. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah, the new website looks great.
There's still some stuff that I need to go through and touch up on. Weston hired a company to come in and do that. And so they did a couple things. They took professional shots and videos of our shop. They did the website, and they're supposed to be providing a service where they're going to give us a phone number. They can be forwarded to either one of our cell phones. And so when someone calls, we can give them one number instead of each of our personal cells. And then we can choose who we want it to go to. And if one person doesn't answer, it'll automatically switch and start forwarding it to the other person.
Yeah, just like a Google Voice number.
Yeah,
we used to use that back when I worked at Chick-fil-A.
So that'll be nice if we can get that up and going. And like people can still reach me through my personal and whatnot. But now if someone calls through the website, it'll not be our personal numbers. It'll be a business number that we can change as we grow to someone else if we need to. So that'll be nice.
So that number on your website that ends in 40, is that you?
I haven't even looked.
It ends in 40.
40 is not mine. No.
Okay.
So no, that's a completely different number.
Is that your CMM that's running in this video here on the inspection page?
At the top, yes.
Is that those parts?
That is. That's
wow,
the medical
that's
parts.
the first time I've seen a picture of them, which our podcast listeners are going to love me talking about your website.
Yeah,
where they can't see it.
So we try to use as many shots as our own. There is obviously some stock images here and there.
Yeah.
We try to do as many shots, but yeah, no, that's our fixture where we can load it up and we can load up 30 parts on the table. And there's still room. We can put more than 30, but we're doing it in batches of 30 because that's what our egg crate size is. And it'll run for 45 minutes unattended and do 100% inspection. So on all of our critical features.
Yeah.
So
is it missing like any parts on the other side? Like, do you have to flip it over or anything to get to the other side of it?
There's a flip on the other side. So, but the other side isn't as critical. And so we can do 1 out of 5 on the other side. So that side gets the bulk of the critical features.
Are you willing to say publicly about how much this website cost? Like at least the number of zeros?
I don't think that's a problem. I think with everything, so we had a professional film crew that came out, the website, and then the phone. I think it all totaled in around $5,000.
Oh, okay, that's pretty reasonable.
So, and then that $5,000 includes website fixes for the next year, website support for the next year. So tweaks, like if we want to add more pages than what we have currently, I think that costs extra, but any changes we want to do to any individual pages within reason is included in that.
Okay. Did they hire the film crew or did you?
They hired the film crew. So they hired the film crew, although I believe they're under the same company. They're just two different, like they have a parent company that shares them, but they're two different divisions or something. So like they knew each other very well, but they were separate entities. So
Sweet.
It was pretty cool because they just got done filming at a couple other different locations in the area that were pretty cool. And when they came there and they were looking at all our stuff, they were pretty impressed with what they saw. Granted, they're not machinists, but they still thought it was pretty cool from what they normally film. So that was fun.
Nice.
And what's funny is if you go to the last page, the contact us, I think is what it is.
There's contact us and our products.
Contact us. You got Weston dumping. That's the chip bin. That's the chip bin of aluminum that we're filling up on our UMC.
Nice.
So we're filling up one of those bins that he's dumping about every 2.5 days. To give you an idea on how much aluminum we're producing right now on one machine. So, which is pretty crazy because we're to the point now where we're having to take it every 2 weeks or less than every 2 weeks, something like that. The bin he's dumping it into.
I wonder how soon you will get to the point where someone else or like the scrap company will just come pick it up for you.
I don't know. I do know that like our next stages in business growth is going to be automation. And I'll probably, if we can get the right automation in place, I might be filling up one of those bins every night, doing a night run and then having it run. And then every day we come in, that bin will be full and that'll drastically increase how much aluminum we're pushing through.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Bring in the robots so that you can focus on important things like cleaning out chip bins.
Yeah. So like today I worked a half day at the shop and I was able to keep 4 machines running by myself while doing a little bit of computer work in between. And they got me sitting there thinking like almost all the work that I was doing could be automated. And to be fair, 2 of the machines, the lathe and the VF, the ST and the V, I guess I need to start saying the ST instead of just the lathe because we have 2 now.
Yes.
But the ST and the VF were both running the same part. And both of those machines will get freed up once the Doosan lathe is up and running. And that machine will be able to do it all in one, which will be exciting. So,
and remind me, did you get a bar feeder for it?
Yes.
It's like it's like a 4-foot bar feeder or something, right?
It's a 4-foot bar feeder, but we can only push it 3-foot bars through it.
Oh, okay.
And like the bar feeder is capable of 4 foot, but the Doosan is only capable of 3 foot unless we get an extension on the back. And that just pushes the bar feeder back a foot and we don't have enough space where it's going to be able to fit that. And so
that makes sense.
I wish the bar feeder was a 3-foot bar feeder because that would have gave us more space, but they didn't have one that was, they only make like 4 foot, 6 and 12, I think. So would have been nice to save that extra foot.
If you like ever move shops or something or get rid of the ST, could you upgrade that to a longer bar feeder? Like, could you put a 12-foot on there later?
I don't see why not. The biggest thing is if you put a 12-foot bar feeder on it, it has to have the ability to, what do they call that? Hydrodynamic bearings, where it's all contained and keeps it from bouncing around. And I haven't seen that really on anything other than like Swiss style machines. I don't know.
They definitely put long bar feeders on this style of lathe.
I've never personally seen it anywhere, so I'm sure it exists, but I've never seen it or looked into it, so I couldn't comment. But I would assume that if it's a thing, then it should be able to.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of shops that have bar feeders on even just simple 2-axis lathes. Now, maybe those were 6 foot and not 12 foot. I could like go back and at some videos and pictures I have and find out, but
yeah,
it's definitely a thing. Unless I'm absolutely crazy, which these things happen, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's possible one way or another.
I have a hard time seeing someone trying to run a 12-foot, 2.5-inch diameter bar of material on a lathe. That just seems crazy.
Well, smarter people chime in. People that
Yeah.
know more about this than I do chime in.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 6 foot. Maybe they're 6 foot. Or maybe they were just doing smaller work.
Yeah. Because like smaller bars, that's not a problem. But once you get up to that size, 2.5 inches, that's a lot of weight to be trying to spin and to contain. So
wasn't it Jamie from JSpec who had a bar? It actually might have been a bar feeder issue. Go funky, and it just like started swinging around a whole bunch of.
maybe
You don't listen to his podcast. Never mind. Go listen to the Loan Machinist podcast, and he has some story about a bar. I must have not been paying a lot of attention, but he said he turned it into a walking cane. I think he called it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got 2 stories along that same line. We had our extension on our Haas come loose and whip around inside the machine, and then at my old job, they had a Haas tool rim lathe, and they had a little stand that they would stick behind it, and they'd stick in bars that were a lot longer, and it'd ride on 2 bearings on the stand, but there was no third one on the top, and it was just a stand that was standing there that had no, it just had a base and a weight, and so it wasn't bolted to the ground. And the piece that they were running, the bar, it bounced off. Either the stand fell over or it bounced off, and then it started whipping around, and it flew off out of the machine, hit the roof, broke a light, and landed in the break room, which thankfully no one was in.
Wow.
So I think it was either 30 minutes before or after break when he did that. And so people either were just about to come or they just left. I don't remember which it was, but it was just like, oh, okay, can we not do this, guys?
Yeah.
Because his little machine, it was a big building, 80,000 square foot building, and it was all open. And his machines were right next to the break room. So when that happened, that was a big deal. So
I wonder if you could ever put too heavy of a part in a lathe, and so when you turn it on, the lathe just falls over instead of spinning the part. I wonder if that's ever happened in the history of machining.
You can call that the Corsair problem. Have you heard the story of the Corsairs from World War II?
Don't think I have.
So Corsairs, my dad's a pilot, so I know a lot of plane stuff. But Corsairs during World War II, they were not allowed to power up to full power on takeoff because they would produce so much torque that they could cause the plane to literally flip over on takeoff.
That's funny.
So I'm just imagining that with a lathe.
Yeah.
So
I have fond memories of a Mythbusters episode where they're testing, they were making a Batman grappling hook cannon thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they for a car, it was a Batmobile one. And they went to do a test shot, and they loaded up the cannon. They just set it on a table and they launched it. And the cannon went shooting backwards. And they went, oh yeah, we forgot about the Newton laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's core memory. Never forget about the Newton laws.
Yep. Man. So it was, I got to tell you something that I had a conversation with a friend of mine here recently, and it got me thinking about something that was pretty interesting. So I've definitely had a lot of people ask me, how do I find particular customers? And I think we've talked about this on the podcast before. Do you remember when I got my first big company and we talked about the quality difference between my work and everyone else's?
I do.
And how purchasing really wanted us to lower our quality of work so we would lower our price. And the people on the shop floors was like, no, please don't. That same company talking about my work is how I got the medical company.
Oh, really?
So if I had ever dropped my work quality to the standard that they wanted me to hit, I might have never found that medical company, might not have ever heard of me. So we chose to go above our customers' requirements, and that led, and we made that decision back when we had the Tormach in our old shop probably 3 years ago. And we've held true to those beliefs ever since then. And that has led to today us getting the medical company.
Well, that's a pretty cool story.
Like,
Which
I had the,
and
I
that
had, go ahead.
and so you could basically trace that back to the reason you have the new machine.
Yes. Yes. So, like, I can trace that back to a decision we made 3 years ago when we were a single machine shop, a single CNC machine shop.
Now you're a married machine shop. Yeah.
Yeah, many machine shop. Not married, many. But
I feel like there's a polygamy joke in here somewhere.
somewhere. But like, it was
Jamie
just
can make it for us.
yeah. It was just interesting because the conversation started because he was asking me how the business was going, and I was telling him about this new medical company. He's like, "Well, how'd you get them?" I said, "Word of mouth through this other company," and he's like, and it just got me to think about that timeline and just blew me away that I didn't make that connection until that conversation, and so it's just for anyone out there who's listening to this, if you hold yourself to a higher standard than your customers do, and they start talking about it, that's how you can sometimes get these other customers years down the line. And this is like the first time, I mean, the first example that I personally have of it, but it's an example that I'm glad I recognized.
And I mean, there's other ways to get new customers.
There is.
But they take either a lot of work or a lot of money.
Yes. Yeah. Word of mouth is a very powerful thing, and you want to always make a good impression. So, but anyways, I thought that was a cool story that I wanted to share.
That's a cool story.
So, in other news, though, my employee is gone for all of this coming week. So he's out for a week.
I thought he was going to be gone. I thought you were like, he's gone forever.
He's gone for
you scared me during that sentence.
Week and a half, something like that, for a while. He's gone for a while, and then Weston leaves, and then he gets back. So I think I'm going to have one day where I'm a solo man in the shop, and then, but it's going to be basically 2 to 3 weeks of just me being the main one that's there with one other person.
Yeah.
So it's going to be stressful trying to get all this
Might
work
be
out
a good test of systems.
Yeah.
It'll be a good test of how much you love your employee.
Yeah, which, speaking of systems, we've made it through our stage 1 audit for the AS 9100, ISO,
cool.
all that stuff. And we're preparing for stage 2, which is going to be probably 3 to 4 months down the line. And there is so many changes that we're going to have to make. And this is where ProShop is really starting to prove its worth, its value.
Nice.
Because there's no way we could have passed the stage 1 audit without it. Like, Weston got grilled for 1 day straight, 8 hours, and he didn't have all the answers right off the bat, but he was able to go into ProShop and find them. And he's nice. It just barely saved him. So like, what kind of things do they cover on the first audit? I mean, they go through all of your systems and stuff, and a lot of that's built into ProShop. I honestly don't know because I was not the one that was grilled, but I know Weston came out of that meeting and he just looked wiped. Huh. Like, they grilled him. And this is a company that prepares you for ASME 9100. So, like, their job is to beat you up, to find your weak points and address them. So, and then they're going to come by in person for stage 2 to really go through. And at that point, everyone in the company is going to have to be up to snuff on everything. And there's a lot of procedures and systems that we're going to have to start following and documenting. It's honestly going to add a lot of overhead, which is why people don't do it. But if we want to keep growing with this medical company and get more companies like them, it's going to be required. And we've known that going forward, but it is going to make some of the simpler stuff more annoying.
Like, what? What's an example?
So, for an example, anytime you are doing anything in the shop, it has to be documented. So if you're cutting material it has to be documented. If you're putting material on the side, it has to have a tag with it. When you are moving parts from one machine to another, it all has to be documented. If you have any scrapped parts, they have to be kept in a separate container, and they have to be physically marked in some way that they are bad. And you have to keep a record of how many parts you failed, and you have to create reports for why those parts failed, and keep all that information internally and generate non-compliancy reports. And how many parts are bad, what happened, and if you have a continuation of the same problem, you have to make a corrective action to that. And that's just one element of it. Like there's so many like little things here and there that, like, basically we have to do everything in ProShop before we do it in the real world. So you can't just walk up and start doing something. You have to do everything in ProShop and then start on the actual thing. And so I think once we get everything going, it'll be fairly smooth. But I would say that, like, if you were not planning on doing ASM 9100 or any of that other stuff, ProShop might not be as good of a fit as other ERP systems out there, because it's geared so heavily towards all of that stuff.
Like, it's like one of its big selling features.
Yes, exactly. So, like, I remember looking at, like, I think it was Job Shop Squared, and looking at some stuff on it. I'm like, this is so much easier than ProShop. Why are we doing ProShop? And then now that we're in the process of going to this, which is something we've always kind of planned on being able to do, its value is really coming through.
It's a reason they call it ProShop and not Amateur Shop.
Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of work. We're going to have to start. There's a lot of little things we're going to start doing. I can't even think of all of them, but like so many little things. So,
do you have like iPads that you can carry around with you to use ProShop on?
We have computers at every machine. So actually, I think you might be able to see it in that video of the around the shop. So as that camera kind of rotates around and you look at the shop, at every machine, there is a workbench, and on every workbench, there is a all-in-one computer that's mounted on a little swing arm. And so
I was just thinking in terms of, like, if you need to do it while you're at the saw, you're not going to put a computer at the saw, but you may still need a way of.
Yeah, that's true. I think you can do the work and then you can go back to the computer and like check it. Like there's some stuff you have to do before, there's some stuff you can do after, some stuff you have to do it when you move it from one station to the next. So like you don't have to do, I don't know. It's going to be like, it has to get done in the computer. And so it's best if you do it right then when you're doing it. And so we'll have to see how it goes. Today I was running stuff by myself, and as I was moving it from station to station, I was checking it off in ProShop, and I only had one computer logged in and running the whole time, but I was doing it for 4 different machines. I just go back to the computer and mark down everything that I was doing.
I'm just thinking about reducing friction with that system.
Yeah, you definitely can, but if at that point if they can pull it up on their phone, which I haven't tried, then that would work too.
That's true. That would make a lot of sense. You could even have some like quote unquote shop phones.
Yeah.
Or like an iPad mini or something.
Yeah, just like an iPad mini that you can walk around with if you need it for whatever reason. Take it to the saw, take it to the laser, take it to the shipping station. Yeah, we could do that. So
speaking of amateur hour, I have a story for you.
Let's hear it.
So I inadvertently lied to you, or rather I oversimplified something to you, because at one point I sent you a picture of some parts that were nicely boxed up in a nice custom crate.
Yeah,
and
they were indestructible.
You were like, did they go well? And I was like, yeah, sure. At that time, what I failed to mention is they actually had one more operation. And that last operation was drilling and tapping some holes on the side of them that I had to do at school.
Mm-hmm.
It was fairly simple, 3/8, 16 threads. There's a handful of them on each side. When I was running these the first time, these were the parts that I've done it a couple times because I made them once and then they came out too warped. And then I made them again and they were right, but then they got damaged in shipping, which is hence the nice crate this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd already run this 4 times. I was feeling confident. And so I just oversimplified and was like, yeah, it went well, even though technically they weren't done yet. Well,
Okay.
I bet you can see where this is going.
Yeah. Taps. Almost finished parts. I can see. It's painting a picture.
I brought him to school and I set the first one up. And about 3 holes in, it broke a drill.
Okay.
And it was, of course, a carbide drill. And I spent, 2 hours trying to get that drill out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I was able to get it out, fortunately.
Okay.
So I switched to a high-speed steel drill, both because I was paranoid of it breaking again and because that was my last carbide drill. And I drilled the rest of the holes on that side.
Did you go back into the hole of the broken drill?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make sure I'd gotten it all out, and I was pretty sure I had, but it went fine.
Okay.
That drill did fine. And then I went on to tapping. And I'm running these as 2 separate programs because this part, even on the VF2 at school, is really tall for it. And the top of the tool, or the top of the part, is below is it the G30 height plane or G28 height plane? Wherever it does the tool change. It's below the tool change position. And so I didn't want it to do a tool change in the middle of the program. I'm sure I could hand code in a transition, but it was easier for me just to break it up and then manually position it. And so I switched to the tap.
Mm-hmm.
And first hole was fine. Second hole, that was the one with the broken drill. That one did fine. Third hole, tap broke. And at this point, I'm just dying on the inside. I tried to get the tap out. I could not. I tried to mill the tap out. It wasn't going well. I ended up going ahead and putting a new tap in, and I just tapped the rest of the holes to like a 1/2 inch deep.
Mm-hmm.
And finished up the rest of the parts. Then I had to bring that part to an EDM shop and get the tap burned out. And then I was able to go back in and hand tap the holes. And I got that side of that part done. And I started on the next part. For the life of me, I don't know how I did this. I tapped to the bottom of the hole. And then as I was removing the tap, as I was backing out, I broke the tap by hand, going backwards. Fortunately, that one was quite a bit less bound up because I was on my way out. And I had to I put a screwdriver in each, like a little tiny screwdriver in each of the little flutes. And then I used a crescent wrench to turn it backwards and I was able to get it out.
Were these straight flutes that you were hand tapping with or were they spiral? Those
ones were straight flutes.
Oh, okay.
I used both at different times. What occurred to me after I finished the first hole was that I was using a 75% thread stainless, and that was why my tap broke.
Yep.
And so it's after I did the first side of the first part, I switched to it wasn't quite a 50%. It was a little bit more engagement than 50%, but I switched to a bigger drill, and that I think would have fixed my issues from the beginning. But on the holes that were tighter, maybe I did the full first part with that. I bet I did. I bet it was the full first part with a slightly smaller drill. And then I switched to the bigger drill. But on the holes that were tighter, I had to use a tapered tap before I used the plug tap.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need to use a bottoming one on this one. The holes were plenty deep, but whatever reason, I was just so afraid of breaking the tap. Like, it was taking a lot of force. So putting the taper tap in there first really cut down on the forces required to turn it. And so I eventually got that done. So I broke the tap went home, went to bed, woke up, brought the part to EDM, and they finished it later in the day, 3 or 4. Same day was pretty good, though. I was pretty happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I brought them home, went to like hand tap them, and then I finished that, broke the tap, got it out, finished tapping, went to bring it to FedEx because at this point it had gone pretty late in the day.
Mm-hmm.
UPS around here closes at 6 or 6:30, 7, somewhere in there. It was too late regardless. And I've always sent my stuff UPS because it's easy to print via pirate ship. And I don't have a good way of generating FedEx labels just because I don't use it. Like, when I'm shipping from a certain company whose name starts with X, when I used to do stuff for them, like I would use their FedEx labels, but I don't use them now. So I was like, well, I'll just drive this to the FedEx shop and then ship from directly there from FedEx. Like I'll have them print my label for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I know it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but it can't be too bad. Would you like to guess what they quoted me for next day shipping on these parts?
Let's see here. Each part's going to be what, in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 pounds?
40 pounds, yeah.
40
pounds packed.
For both of them or for one?
Each one. So I had 2 crates, 2 parts separate.
Oh man, then I'm gonna guess in the neighborhood of 150 per box.
$1,900.
Oh,
they wanted $1,900 to ship these 2 parts, and I was like,
"Oh man,
are you like really? Like, there's no way." Because I had shipped these parts already via UPS to the people who plated them, or who were going to plate them, but damage. And you were pretty much dead on. Shipping those was about $1,500 each. But they wanted $1,900, or it was like $850 each.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, okay, my customer is upset with me already. I do not have $1,900 worth on this job. So I guess I'm driving home. And so I went home and I sent them next day air via UPS the next day.
Oh, man.
So, yep, that customer, I sent them, and I finally was able to send them to like the inspection report and the tracking, and they did not answer. I think he's just over there angry at me, which I have earned at this point. Those parts were so late because of all the issues I had with them. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Customer. And I am never, ever taking a big part again. This taught me my lesson. I, at best, broke even. I haven't done the numbers yet, but certainly lost money on this job, not to mention the several weeks of my time. So, core competencies, stick within them. That was my lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's tough.
I did learn a lot about packaging heavy parts, though. And my crate ended up being pretty cool. I liked how that turned out.
Have they received it?
They should have by now. I haven't checked the track. I am too afraid to check the tracking, Harrison. If it did not show up,
because I would want to make sure that it got there, and that I still hadn't heard from them. Because if you haven't gotten confirmation that it's been received, this story might not be over.
If it doesn't get received, I'm telling them to go to a different shop and, obviously not get invoiced them. I'll be like, have a nice day, go on, find somebody else.
Oh my goodness.
Because I've made these parts too many times already. And it would take me too long. Because it takes me like a week to get the material. Because it's plasma cut out of stainless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are these other than the tapped holes, relatively simple parts? Like, they look like they would be quick and easy?
It's just the size. Yeah. There's a big angled surface that requires a long cycle time of surfacing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. The stainless did beautifully, by the way. It left a much nicer finishes. And if I had used stainless the first time, I don't think I would have had enough warping to be a problem. I definitely babied these ones with how I removed material.
Mm-hmm.
I think I ended up doing, like, I removed a bunch and then flipped it and then removed a bunch and then a skim cut and then flipped it and then a skim cut, basically. And then when it was at thickness, I super glue methoded it to do the first real op and then mod vices for the second op.
Yeah.
And they were like dead flat, like tenths. So across a fairly large part.
Stainless can warp, but I feel like carbide or like the 1018 for whatever reason does a lot more.
I think part of it, like, I think I had two things going for me. One, it wasn't 1018. Two, it wasn't coming out of a cold finish process. It was coming out of plate.
Yep.
And I think, again, if I had used plate the first time, I think I would have been fine. If I had used hot rolled, I probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
But
cold rolled, it just likes to bend like a freaking pretzel.
Other than that, I did ship some other parts. What were those other parts? I might have to pull up my photos. And I have, believe it or not, been running the Haas.
What?
Yeah. As I was chopping away on these big parts. Oh, I did some watch bezels. Like a ring that goes around the top of a watch, and I assume it holds the crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And did I talk about these already?
No.
I'm going to sneeze. So they were a relatively simple part. The top is basically like a truncated dome, if that makes sense. Like, it's a ring with a domey shape.
Mm-hmm.
The backside had some like grooves and stuff that required small tools. The actual parts themselves, like the geometry was fairly simple, but I needed a 10 thou end mill for some of the backside work. Mm-hmm. And because these were so thin, holding them was going to be a really big challenge. And so naturally, I made these on my not a 5-axis.
Mm-hmm.
And I window machined them. But these were pretty cool because I window machined one side, and then I had designed a 3D printed insert that glued into the top of the fixture. That way, when I turned it over, I was able to completely remove the part from the material, and it just stuck in my little window frame 3D printed fixture set.
Nice.
And that worked pretty well. The only problem I had on these is, and this may shock you, is material movement. I thought they being brass, it wouldn't be that big of an issue. But I think I was a little bit off center I know I was off center in the material because I was trying to make enough room for the 3D printed bracket that I glued in. But I ran one in aluminum. It went perfectly. Like I didn't have a bunch of extra brass. So I ran one in aluminum, no flaws. It came out perfectly. Finishes were beautiful. It was dead on size, no problems. Great. So I ran my first brass one, and the brass bent on me literally like 30 thou. And it came out too thin, obviously. So
I have a different method for doing parts like that whenever you're done.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'm excited to hear that. So for the two, I needed two, and of course I had enough material for 3 parts, and I lost my first one. But on the last two, I did face and flip, as is my tradition, where I took off half the material, flipped it over, took off another half of the material, and then flipped back and did off one, and that there was no problems. All right, so how do you do little small parts like this, like these rings?
So, for back when I was teaching at university, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember me talking about the part where someone made what I thought was an engagement ring?
I don't think so. I don't recall.
Okay, so the last semester that I taught, I let all my students come up with their own personal projects, and one of them wanted to make a ring out of aluminum. And I'm assuming it was a ring that he was going to propose with because when he ran it, he brought his girlfriend and they watched it together. So I thought that was kind of cool. But anyways, So if you're imagining a ring, small, cylindrical, very similar item to what you're talking about, the way I did that is I machined it. I made soft jaws, and then instead of pinching the part, I did the inside and the top on one side, and then you'd flip it over onto a post or onto something that was like a post, and then you'd open your vise and hold it on the inside, basically all the way around, and it made a very rigid ID like mandrel holding on the part, and it came out perfect doing it that way. And so, like the part that you're talking about, I could see potentially doing that on like a Saunders mod vise where you have the two aluminum pieces and you just machine it down to where you have a post sticking up, and then you have it pull the mod. You have the mod vise pull it away from it instead.
Yeah, I could even do that with my import soft jaw vise. I don't think I could do it on the Flux. I don't think you can open with the Flux vise.
Yeah.
But we actually make rings as the final project in my machining classes. It's like our class ring is kind of what we call it.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried that method, but the weird Kurt vices we have, for whatever reason, have like a quick change floating jaw side.
So they'll pop off.
And they pop off.
Yep.
I don't know if there's a way to lock those down. I haven't investigated far enough. We could probably do it on those chick vices we have. I think I have some soft jaws for those, but I hate those chick vices. The way we ended up doing them is with what I call, and I think how I was taught them to call, zero clearance soft jaws.
Mm-hmm.
So you machine the soft jaws so that they're designed to be fully clamped when they are all the way closed. So like they butt up face to face, like there's no space in between them when you machine the part.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get that name for you? I think it was actually Easton, not Weston.
Weston.
Yeah, Weston is you. Easton is Mariah Manufacturing or Moria Manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still unclear on which he is, but I think I first heard about them from, oh gosh, now I can't keep track of who, Moria Manufacturing. I don't remember if he's East or West, but him. You're Weston, so he's Easton. Okay.
Thoroughly butchered that now.
I know. I cannot keep them straight. I'm sorry. They're supposed to be infinitely far apart, but to me, they're the same thing.
I'll go get that shovel and see if I can dig that dead horse up.
Anyway, before we get like a Southton in here. So, speaking of dead horses, we have Patreons, including 3 new Patreons.
Whoa.
Alex G and Alex at Absolute Machine and Roy B. We're getting a lot of Alexes in the house. It's almost certainly the most represented name in our Patreon. Alex or Alexander. We also have, I should do the whole Patreon pitch now that I've completely derailed myself. All of our Patreons, both free or paid, get access to our weekly Q&A, which we'll do here in a second. All paid Patreon members get early access to our episodes, and Jacob has been super on this. The last few weeks, I think they've gotten them same day. And if it's not same day, it'll be next day.
Mm-hmm.
Early access. Anybody who's $10 or a month or above, you get your name read. And anyone paid gets access to our Patreon Discord server, which has been super, super awesome. So our Patreons include, but are not limited to, Christian G, I've already messed it up. Alex G, Christian O, Stephen M, A Dead Horse, Daniel R, James at Moultrie Made. Is A Dead Horse Dylan? Because I'm pretty sure Dylan is a Patreon, and I don't think he's on here. Daniel R, James at Moultrie Made, Ryan at Strato Manufacturing, Austin W, Kyle at Cursed Machine, Devin at Sinister Machine Works, James N, Ben at Prickly Pear Prototypes, Cam S, Shep at Alderson Prototyping, Jacob at Zonum Precision, Jason S, Joshua H, Christian Z, Freaky Climber, Prescott at 1Z2Z Systems, Trey V, Guy L, Alexander B, Scott Design the Everything, Jamie J Spec Engineering, Chris It's Like Precision, EJ Nocturnal Wedding, Chris at Bob Design, and as ever, Jake Brownson.
That would be the most gangster nickname for different podcasts to post on someone else's to get called out every time. Because we use a dead horse all the time.
You mean like we do on JSpec or on Lone Machinists?
Yes.
We Patreon Lone Machinists for that very reason. And to support them, I suppose.
That's hilarious. Dylan, if that is you as a dead horse, that is hilarious.
Dylan, if it's not you, Jacob has failed you. Shame, Jacob, shame. I lost the thought. Oh, so I had to remove everything off of my machine again to put the big parts on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now reconsidering my layout of where I have like my 0 points and stuff. And it brings it like, it's like a very existential is the wrong word here, but it's a very like existential thing of like, do I huddle them all up on one side and leave room for the 6-inch vise? Or do I spread them out because I'm not going to use my 6-inch vise? Or do I spread them out and then just assume that I'm going to take them on and off every now and then when I do need to make a bigger part? And where do I use the anchor point or not? Because I have the anchor point and I'm planning on using it for some stuff. And I don't know. I've just been like, it's been a surprisingly big question. Right now, I have everything huddled up to the left, but I don't have my anchor point or my 6-inch vise on. I want to use my anchor point to hold pallets that I can spindle grip on to my Aroa system. That's my plan. But I don't have a spindle gripper yet, but I'm pretty sure I can make just like a 3D printed claw that just frictions over, but I haven't tried that yet. That's on my list of things to try.
How often do you use your 6-inch vise, and do you like using your 6-inch vise?
I hate my 6-inch vise with a passion. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's a perfectly fine vise. I just don't like 6-inch vices. I like the ability to quick swap things in my Aroa stuff. And I haven't touched my 6-inch vise since I did that production job.
So I'd just leave that off and not worry about it then.
Yeah. I'm thinking I tuck the two Aroa systems closer to the left-hand side, and I put the anchor point kind of center on the right, and then I make a big pallet for it that I can put Aroa pallets on. And by pallets, I mean those little baby vices. That's my current plan.
Fair enough. So where are you going to get your spindle grippers from?
If I cough up the money for a real one, I'm just going gimbal.
Okay. Does Gimbal make any that work with a BT30?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't ever looked at that.
To my knowledge, the problem is I need a bypass because I don't have through spindle coolant.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could just buy through spindle coolant, but that's expensive. They make bypasses. They have one for the 1100s. I don't think they have one for the 1500 yet. So it might result in some extra kind of engineering. And I don't know if that's a included engineering fee or a additional engineering fee.
Your 1500's already set up for through spindle, isn't it?
Yes. It's field
I thought it was
installable. I don't remember if I have the rotary union or not. I don't think I do.
I would check. I thought it came with that and that it was all plumbed for it, and you just had to add it on later if you wanted it.
Norman can weigh in here. At one point, he mentioned that they didn't want to sell the rotary union outside of their kit because they were worried about people doing dumb things and ruining their spindle.
Mm-hmm.
He also mentioned that it didn't work through spindle air for some reason.
Oh, really?
This was a long time ago. This was before the machine was finalized, to my knowledge, like when they were still beta testing. So I could be wrong, and I don't want to say anything publicly wrong, so don't listen to me, guys. I don't know what I'm talking about. Ask Norman. But I would love to just have through spindle air. That would be great. I don't need, I mean, through spindle coolant would be nice and all, but for the stuff I do, I really don't need it. But if I could get through spindle air for spindle grippers and stuff, I would like that.
Yeah, they showed the rotary union in their through spindle coolant kit, so I'm guessing yours does not have that then.
Maybe I can like slide Norman a 20 and get one on the black market.
Yeah, or maybe you can find, if it's got a common fitting, maybe you can just find a rotary air fitting that'll work.
Yeah. I don't
You
know.
can just,
How does that, like, is the drawbar just a tube? Like, how do these work? I've never looked into the mechanics of through spindle, whatever.
I honestly don't know. I haven't either.
Norman, help.
Yeah, that's a Norman question. So
This rotary union would have to spin at like 10,000 RPM, which seems like a lot for a rotary union, but I guess they make them for it.
yeah.
Gosh, how do you make a seal at 10,000 RPM? That sounds like a miserable engineering challenge.
Mm-hmm. I've wondered that in the past, but I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough to have an answer. Norman.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love a traditional spindle gripper, but I have done some experimenting in the past with just a 3D printed, basically little fingers that would grab around your part.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you have something to pull it off on the other end, I don't see why it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be aiming for like, I want this to run all weekend. I would be aiming it for like, run for 2 hours without me.
Yeah.
Put 4 vices on the table or something. But there is a Tormach robot for sale on Facebook Marketplace around me for a really good price.
Ooh.
I'm very tempted by that.
Should we get into questions?
We should get into questions. I'll start with the first question. Jamie from JSpec, when did AJ last use his Haas? I used it this week, sir. This week.
Are you wanting to fix the spindle still? To expand upon that question?
Yeah. I used it again this week, and I was like, my first thought was, holy crap, this machine is messy, because it just piddled all over the floor. My second thought was, okay, this isn't really that bad. This is kind of a fun machine to run. I was able to run it with, at least for tools 3/16 and smaller, it was able to run just with the straight tool path, pre-tool speeds and feeds, which is one of the things I was worried about, is I have my whole library built out with the pre-tool speeds and feeds, and I was worried they wouldn't work on the Haas, but they were fine. That would probably very quickly fall off with bigger tools, and I don't know, it was fine. I was like, oh, this machine's actually kind of cool. So I should probably just get that spindle fixed.
I was going to say, I think you have a mental block with it. And at this point, I would say, well, you could just use the Tormach until, but you use it so little at this point, you just need to make the decision, just bite the bullet and just fix it.
Yeah. And if I fix the spindle, I would probably make up the difference in resale value. So,
yep.
All right. So, question from Alex B. Did he join Patreon just to ask this question? Oh, no, sorry. We had Alex G and Roy B join the Patreon. Alex B was a pre-existing Patreon. With Harrison getting the new lathe, did he get part probing with it? I'm sure it comes with tool setting, but did you go for the extra part probing?
Did not go for the extra part probing.
This does not shock me.
Yeah. Lathes typically don't. I mean, unless you're Grimsmo. I haven't really ever heard of anyone putting a probe on a lathe. Not to say that it wouldn't happen on these really high tolerance parts. It's actually a very good reason to get one. If I wanted to run it more automated without us going in there, if I could have it go probe the bore and then automatically adjust offsets over time, that's actually a really compelling reason to get one that I honestly hadn't put too much thought into until just now. So maybe someday.
The problem with it is it only accounts for tool wear and does not account for like thermals. Because if there's a thermal issue, your probe will be off by the same amount your tool is off and they'll cancel. But so it'd only catch tool wear.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, if you set it up the right way, you can make it work.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But also just having good processes in place on when to replace your inserts could probably accomplish the same thing for $10,000 less.
you say that, but yes and no, and which is apparently my favorite saying. The parts that we're running, every third or fourth part, we're having to adjust it by like a tenth consistently. And so having because the inserts will last for about 100 parts on our boring bars between changes, and having it probe and automatically adjust over that 100 run would make it to where we could walk away, because we're having to
Yeah, fair.
test every single one.
Have you
And
considered buying a probe for your lathe? That seems like a good idea.
yeah, it might. It could happen.
Or hear me out, robot takes it out, puts it on CMM, looks at the result, types it into your controller.
Yeah, we just have to get one that has multiple fingers.
Yeah. It can hunt and peck.
Yeah, until someone comes over and puts it on the wrong page and it doesn't know it.
Fair.
So, no, that's actually a really good use case for a probe on a lathe that honestly I hadn't thought about, but could definitely be a valid reason to at some point.
Do we know if Grimsmo is still doing that on his lathe? Like, is he still using the probe?
No earthly idea. I haven't heard it brought up in a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think we're due for a new video from him in like 2027. So maybe we'll find out then.
Yeah. Both him and Saunders have really cut back on their video production. It's giving me withdrawals.
Yeah. It's like just me and Cloud 42.
So, yeah, his
42?
videos are pretty good. Even Inheritance Machining is like releasing videos like once a month now. Or
yeah, he like took a break and then he did like 3 videos in like weekly.
So
yeah, I use his videos in my class a lot. Like I basically have 2 video slots in a day. And when we're first getting there, I'll put on like a project kind of entertaining video. And then I'll do some teaching stuff. And then we'll go out into the shop. And then we'll come back in and I'll put on a like more information-y video. And then finish up like any last lecture we have or, anything else I need to cover after the activity. But, ooh.
Yep.
So this is the first class. I started a class a week ago. This is the first class that I've started from the ground up using my Kanban teaching system.
Ooh.
Which I think we've talked about a couple times. I'm calling it the student production system.
How'd it go?
Kind of like the Toyota production system, but it has gone so much more smoothly and it's going super well. I'm really, really happy with the system. I'm going to run out of pre-prepared projects, I think, before the class is over. Like, I just don't quite have enough of the Kanban cards built up. But on the very first day, I had like 3 different Kanban cards for them. And I split them up into 2 groups. There was only 5 people and said, here's your activities, choose your order, go. And it worked great. They got through all the stuff. And granted, they were pretty simple things on the first day. They were like running the bandsaw for parts that we'll use. Well, I was hoping to do them on Thursday, but I'll have to do them Monday. What else was it? I don't know. It was a couple simple things. I don't remember what they were, but changing a tool in and out of an ER holder, I think was one of them. And one other thing. I definitely need to kind of share that system once I get it fully. Like once I get all the little tasks in there, because there's certainly some gaps right now. But once I get all those little gaps filled in, I think it'll be really nice. I'll just like basically be having the students teach themselves while I stand around and watch.
Nice. Anything else you got going on, or is that pretty much wrap it up?
This is a completely random question. Do you have fire extinguishers in your shop, right? Are they in clear, well-labeled places? Would your employee be able to find one if he was panicking?
He should, but that's a good question. I would think so, but I'll have to quiz him on it. I mean, that's going to be part of our ASME 9100 stuff. So,
Yeah.
like, it's going to come up.
At one point when I was working as an engineer, we had a small electrical fire in the office, like a power strip caught on fire. And I have a very clear memory of running to go get the fire extinguisher. And I ran out to the shop and grabbed the one out there and came back in, only to realize afterwards that I definitely ran by one that was much, much closer.
Mm.
And I mean, it was fine. Like, there was no damage, basically. But had it been a bigger deal, like that extra, 30 seconds of running out to the shop to get one instead of getting the one that was close by could have been a problem. And when I was last teaching like the fire safety portion of this class, I was like, I don't know where any of the fire extinguishers are in the shop.
Yeah.
And now part of my class is I go and I walk around all the students to every fire extinguisher and make them touch them. And you may consider doing that with your employee. And even Weston. You're like, can you touch the fire extinguisher? And to all of you guys listening, have a fire extinguisher, know where it is.
Yeah, and we got special fire extinguishers that if we have to use them, won't ruin our machines.
Are they CO2?
I think they're CO2, but they might be something else.
Are they red?
They're red, yeah. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Then. You can get all different types of stuff in red ones. Like red doesn't mean anything other than like that's what most fire extinguishers are. Like there are specific colors for really specific ones, but
yeah,
red has a lot of different combinations you can get. Some of my good friends that I've went to school with, they work at a fire extinguisher company, and one of them's a salesman. So anytime I have any fire extinguisher questions, I just call him, and he's very highly knowledgeable on the subject.
Yeah.
So
I kind of have a line of them down the middle of my shop where there's like one on the far wall. There's one on the wall here in the office.
Mm-hmm.
There's one on the laser, which is very much kind of in the middle of the shop. And then there's one kind of between the machines. We had fire in the laser back in the Design the Everything days. Mm-hmm. And Scott did not use the fire extinguisher because he was afraid of like it costing money and stuff.
Hurting something.
And yeah, ever since then, I've had to emphasize I emphasize this to my students. Like, if you're in here and there's a fire, use the fire extinguisher. I don't care how small of a fire it is. You're never going to get in trouble for using the fire extinguisher on a fire. Like, and very much emphasizing that don't worry about anything else. Just use the fire extinguisher. Because people do weird things when they start to get a little bit panicky.
Mm-hmm.
And fires make people panicky.
Just trying to think if there's anything else going on.
Oh, I have one more update. Jacob has been yelling at me because I never talk about Subtract on the podcast, and I probably should be. Our Subtract ERP is really, really close to version 1.0, which will do things like automate our quoting and automate the quoting on our end. It won't be customer automated yet.
Mm-hmm.
But managing all of our orders, it can read every type of file in existence, which is kind of cool, including GIFs. So if customers supply a GIF, we can watch the GIF in our software. Which someone please do that now. And this took a week of beating my head against a wall, and I probably didn't work on it more than 20 minutes a day because it was so much pain. But trying to get stupid meta business accounts to work together to get to the point where we could run ads, it was a huge problem, but is finally dealt with now. So we're basically ready to run ads. We need to change our back end a little bit on the website so we can do A/B testing. And, that actually shouldn't be too difficult, but that'll be a big step of our advertising plan. And after that, we basically just need to improve our website a little bit more, and then we can start running ads. So we're kind of still in this pre-release stage where we're not pushing Subtract too hard. The things that need to come together for it are being able to do advertising and being able to handle orders efficiently. Things like automatically send follow-up emails and like automatically generate like, here's your tracking information email and that stuff. So we're so close, but we might be on Subtract phase 2 here soon.
That'll be exciting. Good deal.
And question for the audience at large. If any of you are working on a product or selling a product and you want to expand your manufacturing capability, send me a message. So like if you're wanting to do a Kickstarter, I will help you with the prototyping now, and then we'll make the products for you later. Deal on prototyping. We probably won't make it free because we want you to commit to it. But I'll give you a heck of a deal as long as you promise to do the manufacturing through us later. Or if you have like a current product line and you want to expand your capacity a little bit.
Fair enough.
That's the wrong one. Jacob added that one. Did we steal that from Lone Machinists?
I don't know. That's the first time I've heard it.
We have to Google it on the podcast. We need a math on the podcast.
Oh my goodness.
That's a favorite of ours.
That was unexpected and awesome. All right, guys. We've reached the end of the podcast where we hit wrong buttons and don't know what's going on. So this has been Harrison signing out with Precision Ingenuity and AJ with Audacity Micro and Subtract Manufacturing. And thanks for hanging out, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Taps and patience, our daily grind. In this machine shop, we'll always find joy and struggles all intertwined. Taps and patience, one of a kind.
In response to the allegations of me starting too many businesses, I recorded a video today on how to start a business. True story.